England are in a World Cup semi-final. We should not take this for granted.
Jude Bellingham, his force of personality, that's the thing that is driving England forward, almost single-handedly.
Tuchel's mission is to put the second star on the shirt. He's demanding of his players because reaching the semi-final isn't an achievement for him. He wants to get to the final. He wants to win the tournament.
Hello and welcome to the Game Football Podcast from the Times and Sunday Times. This is day 31 of our daily World Cup shows, and England are in the World Cup semi-finals. 2-1 winners against Norway after extra time. It was tense, it was tight, it was packed with crucial moments, but once again it is Jude Bellingham who delivered 2 goals for him, taking him to 6 at this tournament. I'm Tom Clarke, and joining me to discuss all of that we have the former footballer turned journalist Gregor Robertson and the head of sport for the Times and Sunday Times, James Restall. We are recording this part of the podcast before the final quarter-final, but James, regardless of the opponent, it doesn't matter. England are in a World Cup semi-final. This is absolutely massive for Thomas Tuchel in this squad, isn't it?
It's massive, full stop. I mean, I think back to like the first World Cup I remember, 1998, being sent to bed at half-time when England were drawing 2-2 with Argentina and waking up and getting knocked out in the round of 16. And then not getting to a semi-final until 2018. These are rare moments and they should be celebrated. And it doesn't really matter how they've got here. We'll talk about it. It's been chaotic. It's been edge of the seat, heart in your mouth stuff the whole time. This whole tournament feels like it's been one kind of roller coaster. But England are in a World Cup semi-final. We should not take this for granted.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a bit of a wild ride. That is the theme of Johnny Northcroft's piece, actually, should I say, on the Times website now. And he talks also about this runaway train that is being driven by Jude Bellingham, Gregor. Martin Samuel also writing about Jude Bellingham. This is the intro to Martin's piece on the Times website. Jude Bellingham is delivering the greatest individual performance by an England player at a World Cup since Paul Gascoigne in 1990, and quite probably since Sir Bobby Charlton in 1966. That is his level now, the names against which he must be measured. The greats, the legends, and he's just turned 23. Who knows where this ends now? Gregor, I've set you the challenge before in this tournament already to find some more words to describe Jude Bellingham. I'm going to hand over to you now. Even tougher after reading out Martin Samuel's intro. But, I mean, this guy is incredible, isn't he?
He is. You're right. I mean, like, you stole the words from my mouth there. What more can you say about him? All that was crossing my mind when I was watching this performance is that I must have written 3 or 4 profiles of Jude Bellingham since, like, his emergence at Birmingham as a 16-year-old. So, like, you know, speaking to his teammates and people, former coaches and things like that. And I've watched lots of footage and of him as like a 14-year-old, skinny little 14-year-old playing against the under-18s and running rings around him. There's moments now in games where it looks like that, where he like does a little drag back and pulls away from someone. And it looks like he's just a level above the opposition. And that's the kind of the striking thing. But the reason I also kind of referenced these profiles is the thing everyone always spoke about was what was between his ears. Like his talent was you know, everyone knew about it from a very, very young age. But the thing that marked him out was what was between his ears and his mentality and his drive. And like, but I still don't think anyone that I spoke to or anyone who's watched his rise knew that he had this in him, that he could almost single-handedly drag his nation to a World Cup semi-final. So it's extraordinary. It's extraordinary. And yeah, I mean, I'll try and find some more words if he produces another performance like this in the semis, but it's getting difficult because that is the main thing about him. It's like, the way he collected the pass, is Anthony Gordon's pass on the move and just manipulated the ball to get a little bit of space to get the strike off his left foot. It was great. Technically, it was brilliant, but it's all about his force of personality. That's the thing that is driving England forward, almost single-handedly.
It's really interesting. We are talking about running out of words to describe this guy. And, you know, Tom and I have just been in the office. We've been putting the Sunday Times together, and this is for another time we've had to come up with a headline and how do we sell Jude Bellingham's performance. And it's the same with the headlines. There are only so many times you can come up with phrases to describe a player being England's saviour, a player who is delivering those absolutely crucial moments. And I think Nick, the Sunday Times editor, came up with too hot to handle. A play on England also surviving in the conditions in Miami. But it's true. This guy is just taking England to new levels, and he himself is reaching new levels.
I should say as well for listeners, I'm often here with, very clever people like James and Nick who are coming up with clever headlines. I'm always suggesting, just put, yes, get in, because I think that's what a lot of readers and listeners are thinking a lot of the time. James, as you say there, we've just come into the studios to record this podcast fresh from the editing floor. We've just been hearing from Thomas Tuchel. I mean, I think for all of us and for England fans, part of this kind of runaway train, the chaotic runaway train, is the England head coach, because he's just stepped off the pitch after guiding this team to a semi-final and basically absolutely coated his players in some extraordinary TV interviews afterwards, saying, not happy with the performance. It's all about mentality. You should bottle the mentality, but otherwise it's not great. I mean, we've only had about 20 minutes to reflect on it, but I'd say he's probably right. What do you think?
I think it shows where he is and what his expectation levels are. And this is something that's very new for England, because if you think back to 8 years ago when England beat Sweden and in quite a comfortable 2-0 win, actually, and reached the World Cup semi-finals, that was kind of when It's Coming Home mania took off in the country here. And people couldn't believe that England were in a semi-final for the first time in 28 years. And whereas this time, now that England have the expectation, let's not forget, Tuchel's mission is to put the second star on the shirt. That's what he said when he took over. And so he's going to be, he's ultra critical. He's demanding of his players, because reaching the semi-final isn't an achievement for him.
Yeah.
He wants to get to the final. He wants to win the tournament. And so, yes, it wasn't a great performance in terms of the quality. England had very little control, even towards the end. It was incredibly frustrating to watch that England, from an England perspective, that they weren't able to just put a foot on the ball and see out those last few minutes. It felt a bit basketball throughout that extra time. So there's a lot for them to still work on, and they were talking about it in the coverage as well. The fact that this is a good thing that the England manager is not kind of settling for the last four. He wants to keep pushing them.
He sees a team that are unreliable. The only things that are really reliable are Jude Bellingham and Harry Kane, and everything else is, there's been some great defensive performance. I think we do have to remember the context of this performance is the Mexico game, and they were playing in what felt like 40-something degree heat and humidity. So it was tough, and some of them just looked completely gone. But he still, despite all that, I think looks at his team and thinks, I'm not sure what I'm getting from a lot of these players. Whatever the context, it doesn't matter. You're at a World Cup in the knockout rounds. You've got to know what you're getting.
Do we think that's a bit harsh? Obviously, taking Kane and Bellingham out of the picture, I wonder whether that's a little bit harsh on players like Elliot Anderson, for example.
Yeah.
I think, he's had an absolutely fantastic tournament, in my opinion. I've said it before on this podcast, to solve that midfield conundrum. He's basically playing it on his own at times, and he did so often in this game. Declan Rice coming off at half-time, of course. All the tactical tweaks and changes that Tuchel made, Reece James into midfield, then to right back, then Bellingham dropping deep. No, we'd need Bellingham further forward. It is chaotic, as James said earlier. Is it sustainable, Gregor? Doesn't need to be sustainable, I guess. They've only got 2 more games to lift the trophy.
Exactly. It's a knockout competition. You've got to get through the match that you're playing in. And there's every chance that you can. Certainly up until the final. We've said this all the way. Even if England aren't playing well, they have people who can win a game. They've got people who can create moments out of nothing. Saka created a few moments too when he came on, and we keep saying this. He just makes that bit of difference in terms of the subtlety of his final product. His end product is on a different level to anyone else. So, but he's not fit. Declan Rice didn't look anywhere near fit tonight. Reece James has been in and out because of injury. So there've been a lot of issues, and I would say you're right. Anderson was outstanding tonight. He looked like one player who that wasn't feeling any fatigue at all. It was extraordinary. But I think back to the Congo game, and he was really anonymous, really, until the last 15 minutes, I thought, in that game. So even he's had ups and downs, and I'm not expecting everyone to be like Jude Bellingham. That's unsustainable. But I think Thomas Tuchel looks at his team and he feels a frustration that they're not actually carrying out his game plans.
It felt with the substitutes today, when you watch the Mexico game, it felt like each substitution was very deliberate and very planned to react to the situation in the match. And Thomas Tuchel got a lot of praise for the way he changed the system to a 4-3-2 and then a 5-3-1 after the red card. This felt, just watching it, and it's hard to react in the instant as we are now, but this one following along felt a lot more chaotic, and it was hard to actually keep up with the tactical changes that were happening. And then it almost felt that he alighted on something with Rodgers and Spence coming on, who gave the team far more energy, and gave them a bit more of a presence higher up the pitch, and ultimately those were two telling contributions in extra time. It was Rodgers' shot that was spilled for Bellingham to score what proved to be the winner, and then Spence making that run into the box and winning a penalty, which was then overturned after a VAR review. But it did feel a little bit more random this time.
Spence almost encapsulates the England team, because like Thomas Tuchel rants and raves at him sometimes. He's pulling his hair out at some of the things he does, and then he looks like, you think, Clarke, he could do something that'll win you the World Cup. Like, he could be the World Cup hero from nowhere, someone that people thought, why is he in the squad? Kind of bit like Dan Burn as well, coming on again and just heading everything.
That header at the end and then going, yes! I mean, it was like a kind of parody of it was like Mike Bassett or something, the guy, big booting header and then like screaming. I was like, this is England in a World Cup quarter-final. What is going on? I mean, from both of your points of view, James as an England fan, Gregor from the dispassionate outside, does it matter now? They're in a semi-final. Does calm and control come into it at all? Or is this now England's way to win the World Cup? Chaos. And Jed Spence coming on and being both pilloried and producing brilliance and tracking back, and Dan Burn heading the ball away in the last 5 minutes, and Thomas Tuchel only ever praising his substitutes. Is this what this is now? Is this what England fans have got to get used to?
Look at one of Thomas Tuchel's greatest triumphs in his career, and it's winning the Champions League with a very imperfect Chelsea team that he picked up halfway through a season from Frank Lampard and managed to get them to find a way to win against a brilliant Manchester City side, and helped get them through that competition. And I think he actually talked about this in the build up to this game, about treating this like it's like an FA Cup run, and it has all the vibes of an FA Cup run, and I think that is carrying them at the moment, and you don't need to be perfect in an FA Cup run. You need to excel in the moments, and you need to have the right players delivering at the right time, and that seems to be happening. And it's a different kind of fun. I think I was talking to a friend earlier today who was saying to me, wouldn't it be nice to be like France and Spain, where it's all, they just win comfortably, and it's not, there's no drama, and I sort of I agreed with him at the time, and I do think it would be nice, but at the same time, I talk about it from a journalist's point of view. The narratives and the ups and downs of this run are just extraordinary, and I think for as far as this will carry England, that England are now here for the rest of the tournament. They're here for the final week of the tournament, because they will have to play a dreaded third place playoff at the very least, as a result of getting to the semis, and that's all you can ask for. It's brilliant.
Gregor, that's an insight into James's management. As soon as England went 2-1 up, he said, look, we're here for another week. We're here for another week. We go on. We party on for another week. But Gregor, just your thoughts on that idea that chaos reigns and chaos maybe wins for England.
Yeah, I don't think that's how Thomas Tuchel envisaged it.
But we're here now, aren't we?
Yeah, but there are parts of it that kind of feed into the way he looked at sort of moulding a team and a squad that was going to go all the way. Like, he wanted to make it more like a Premier League team. He wanted to make it like high intensity, dynamic, have all those kind of attributes, be good at set plays, be able to defend their own box, and be big and powerful and athletic, and all the things that the Premier League are renowned for. And we're seeing aspects of that. We are seeing aspects of that. It's just a bit more chaotic than he probably would have hoped. And like when I was listening to James running through all the things you need there, you need this, you need that, you need luck. And you've had a bit of luck. You certainly have had a bit of luck tonight, I think.
Is it time to mention spidercam?
It is, James, but I am going to work in a little break because we're going to talk about spidercam and Norway in just a second. We'll be back right after this. Welcome back to the Game Football Podcast from the Times and Sunday Times. These are our daily World Cup shows. I'm Tom Clarke and I've got James Restall and Gregor Robertson with me discussing England's win in that quarter-final. Let's talk, as James said just before that break, about spidercam. James, what are the more remarkable... another remarkable moment in this remarkable run for England. There might be listeners out there who have no idea what we're talking about. So just give us a summary of what we know as we stand now and what the incident was.
Well, it's also some good insight into what it's like in a newsroom when one of these England World Cup games is going on, because we'd got to half-time, we'd got through half-time, and one of our reporters in America, who's not at the game, but was watching the game on US TV, they were discussing the fact that in the build-up to England's goal, Nyland, the Norway goalkeeper, took a goal kick, and it appeared to strike the spidercam mechanism, whether it was the camera itself or the cables, and drop out of the air into the path of the onrushing Elliot Anderson, who drove up the pitch and started the move that led to Jude Bellingham's equalising goal. This wasn't picked up initially on the UK broadcast, so we were unaware of it. And it was only alerted to us by Ian Whittle, who was watching the game in America. And so we looked into the incident. We spoke to a reporter and asked them to speak to FIFA to see what FIFA's position was. And FIFA then issued a statement saying that the motion sensor technology in the ball, the SNICO for cricket fans, hadn't detected any contact with the spidercam mechanism, and they've put out a video subsequently showing this.
We should now have a moment of silence, a moment of reflection for the end of one of the greatest World Cup predictions that never was. Alison Rudd's shout for Norway to win this competition. It was so close in this game. They were excellent in parts. There was so much to love about this team. Ryerson at right back with his pink hair, absolutely fantastic. Sorloth, though, in the first half, honestly, running through 2-on-1. Just give the ball to Erling Haaland, mate. He's quite good. He might score. But Gregor, how do you reflect on them in this game? Whether we talk about TV wires or not, they will maybe feel a little bit like a missed opportunity in this one. They could have beaten England here.
Yeah, you just think back to the first half and the remarkable shift in momentum after the hydration break. It was like they really turned it up, and they were by far the better team. And you also think back to Ayer's header off the bar and how brilliantly Konsa did to kind of lead into, I think it was Sander Berg. I say lean, it was like an elbow to the back of the head, but it was just on the right side of fairness, and then head it away, give him enough to push him out the way. That was a brilliant piece of defending. So there was, and as you say, that Sorloth chance would have made it 2-0. Like there was periods of the game where it could have got away from England. You looked really ragged defensively and stretched. But yeah, at the same time, like this kind of lacked cutting edge. You look at the stats and it was pretty identical in terms of like number of shots you had, expected goals. I think you both had 31 touches in the opposition's box. It's like there wasn't that much in it. There was Jude Bellingham and maybe the odd slice of luck. And what do we think of the Erling Haaland's push on Elliot Anderson as well? That's one of the first. It might not be the first, but one of the first before the ball came into play, right?
Yeah, I think quite striking. It is obviously quite a big shove from a big guy, and it's very dramatic. I think Elliot Anderson plays his part to perfection, I've got to say. I think there are other players who might have, taken the fall a little bit less gracefully and less dramatically. That definitely helped. It is a push, isn't it? Really. And the Jeds, in the same way that the Jed Spence one was a dive for the penalty, I think, and they overturned that one and got that right. So I think probably the decisions are about right. James, we're going to wrap it up now. This is massive, isn't it? And it's such a privilege. There'll be England fans out there listening to this with hangovers after a big Saturday night. I've already got mates in WhatsApp groups chatting amongst each other. Where are we watching it on Wednesday? How are we doing this? For us as journalists, this is a real privilege, isn't it? That we get to build up to an England World Cup semi-final.
These are the moments that we're all in this for, really. It's these big stories, these huge national moments where, as I said at the start, this does not happen. This is not normal. And I know England have got to 2 Euro finals now, semi-finals of the World Cup in 2018. I'm still getting used to, and Tom and I have worked together on major tournaments going back nearly a decade, and yet this still does not feel normal that England get to these stages of major tournaments. What's so unusual is the fact that the manager genuinely is tearing into the team because they didn't play well enough in a World Cup quarter final, and I think that's a real shift. I think it's going to be fascinating whoever they play. If it's Argentina, it'll be the first meeting between England and Lionel Messi. What an incredible story! And if it's Switzerland, England will take hope from the fact that they've played 1-2 when it comes to the dreaded penalties. So it's going to be fascinating. It's going to be a brilliant week of build-up.
Perfect editorial tease there. He's put the England penalty thought in your listeners' minds. James Restall and Gregor Robertson, thank you very much for joining me. We will be back tomorrow at the slightly later time on Monday as we're back in the studio to preview those big semi-finals. We will see you then.